This is the Earth. To try and better understand the Earth and all that is, humans have been trying to put it into numbers, to quantify it. You've probably heard of something like, if the Earth was the size of a golf ball, then the sun would be 15 feet in diameter. Now the question is, why do humans try to quantify things? The answer is simple, so they have something they can mentally recreate, and because you can't think of something you can't picture. What if I asked you to come up with a new color? You could maybe come up with a name, but you wouldn't be able to think of the new color. Let's try an example. If you want to know how good a movie is, and if you should watch it, and you ask someone, hey, what do you think of this movie? He might tell you, I liked it. But that's not the answer you were looking for, because he might like it, but it doesn't say anything about the movie itself. That's why there are critiques who give reviews to movies, so you can see a quantified version of the movie. Some things are harder to quantify than others. Let's say I asked you to quantify the equality of the genders in a certain country. You probably couldn't, and that's the issue. What if I told you that on a scale of 0 to 1, 0 being no gender equality and 1 being no difference between the genders, Ghana would be 0.3. I think this is alarming news. However, you've probably never questioned Ghana's gender equality. That's partly due to the way news circulate in our lives. As a whole, the human race has the possibility to change the way anything works. But before we change anything, we have to become a whole. When alarming news arise, someone or a group of people become ralliers, and they turn people into a whole. I can think of many examples where something was spread or done to raise awareness. The question is, when no one rallies for a certain issue, does that mean the issue is non-existent? The answer is no. I want to introduce you to a way of visualizing things by your own, without the need for a rallier. I want to introduce you to indicators, and more specifically, a project called Culture for Development Indicators. The first thing I want to explain is, what is an indicator? I'm going to quote Maureen Hart. An indicator is really just a long way of saying how much, or how many, or to what extent. Indicators are ways to measure progress, to show direction, and to show with numbers the condition of a system. Indicators capture just part of the reality. They are not the full picture. They put variables in relation. They are an indication. Another thing I want to explain is, what is Culture for Development Indicators project? It's a project created by the UNESCO. It consists of 22 core indicators that quantify certain domains of a culture which are relevant to development. Now I'm going to talk about the CDIS Gender Equality Indicator. It measures the gaps between women and men in respect to opportunities and rights to take part in cultural, social, economic, and political life of their country. It provides a snapshot of the status quo of performance outcomes of women and men across 4 domains, namely political participation, education, labor force participation, and the adoption and implementation of gender equality legislation. These 4 domains have been chosen as examples of areas where gender equality is known to strengthen national development processes and ensure the respect of human rights. The premise that underpins the indicator is the promotion and valorization of gender equality as a good thing. This is what the formula looks like. But before we look into details, I want to explain some general behavior. Looking at it broadly, the formula has 2 aspects to it: dimension and gender. Dimension is the things we talked about before: political participation, education, violence, and labor force participation. And all of these are present in the formula as the capital letters. Gender is represented in the formula as X and Y, where X is the value for women in all dimensions and Y the value for men in all dimensions. Looking at the formula, you'll see that it's just a generalized mean of different orders of generalized means. So what I mean by generalized mean is any type of mean. And so what that is, it's the harmonic mean, the geometric mean, and the arithmetic mean that's used here. So what this formula basically is, it's the generalized mean of different orders of generalized means. So the first order generalized mean, x, creates a number from 0.1 to 1, which represents the gaps between the dimensions for females. Then y creates a number from 0.1 to 1 for the gaps between the dimensions for men. And so these numbers just go in here. So this will be the x value and this will be the y value. And so when you take, this is really just the harmonic mean over here. When you take the harmonic mean of x and y, you get the gap between genders. So as I said before, the aim of the indicator is to account for inequalities between dimensions as well as in between genders. The geometric and the harmonic mean are used instead of the usual arithmetic mean because they are better at representing gaps. What I mean is, if you take the arithmetic, the geometric, and the harmonic means of the same set of numbers, so let's say 1, 2, and 3, you'll get 2, about 1.8, and the harmonic mean will be about 1.6. So, due to this, the geometric and the harmonic mean are better suited to reflect a gap. You can say that in the formula, the role of the geometric and the harmonic means is to penalize inequality and make the gaps more observable. The gap analysis approach was adopted to illustrate whether there are differences in opportunities and outcomes between women and men to take part in and benefit from the cultural, social, economic, and political life, and such gaps reflect areas to improve in public investments and interventions. The minus 0.6 over here in the formula makes it more confusing than it actually is. It's really just a normalization. A normalization is when you adjust values measured on different scales to the same scale. This normalization is determined by running a series of tests on a sample of countries to find the worst possible value. In this case, Afghanistan got 0.6, which is used in the formula to create a new zero. For now, you can ignore the normalization and you'll see that the value of the indicator is equal to the ratio of the harmonic mean of x and y to z. So what this means is z, I don't know if you saw that before, z over here is basically the best possible value of the sample. And so what this is, basically, it's the number you get for z, let's say it's 1, so it's the harmonic mean of x and y compared to the ideal world. And so you're taking the reality of the country and comparing it to the ideal. It's basically the level of equality reached. So this is the level of equality compared to a situation where men and women are equal. What does all of this mean? Well, if we go back to Ghana's result of 0.3 on gender equality, it means that in this middle-income country of West Africa, there are still significant disparities in gender equality, and that government's actions to ensure equal opportunities are not currently as effective as those of other countries, as the average result for test-phase countries of the CDIS is situated at 0.6 out of 1, almost double. As a more detailed example reveals major gaps. For example, in Ghana, men benefit from an average 8.1 years of education, while women only average 5.9 years. Significant progress also remains concerning to the adoption and implementation of gender equity legislation. While legislation is in place to protect women against rape and domestic violence, no quota systems are in place to assist in promoting participation in politics. Indeed, in 2012, women only represented 8% of parliamentarians. So even though gender equality is reflected as an objective in national legislation, much progress remains to be achieved in the home country of the Ashantis. I chose to talk about the gender equality indicator. I chose it because living in a third world country, I noticed the harsh reality of gender inequality. The precise concept I taught in this short lesson is the gender equality indicator. My goal is for people to realize that gender inequality is more than not getting paid as much as a man for the same job. I'd like you to open your eyes to more than what you see, and not only that, but also to search for what there is to see, not wait for it to come. At the same time as talking about the gender equality indicator, I explained the usual framework for indicators, so you can hopefully understand a variety of other indicators apart from the gender inequality indicator, and be able to quantify, to be aware of everything there is to know, so you can choose what you stand up for. That's the beauty of indicators. They show in numbers a condition of a system, but what you do with them is up to you. I hope that after seeing this, you look around and see more than what you are shown. I hope you look for yourself and not wait to be told what they want you to hear. Pick your fight.